Peter Mbah. Peter Ndubisi Mbah is a Nigerian maritime lawyer, a financial analyst, and politician. He is the founder and chief executive officer of Pinnacle Oil and Gas Limited. He is a fellow of the Certified Institute of Public Administration and Management, CIPM, a member of the Nigerian Institute of International Affairs and Nigerian Bar Association. Peter Mbah was born in Enugu to the family of Chief Gilbert Ekete Mbah from Ashishiowo, Nkano East local government area of Enugu State. He attended Army Children's School, Bori Camp, Port Harcourt, and Owode High School, Owodegba, Ogun State. Mbah studied law at the University of East London, United Kingdom, earning a Bachelor of Laws degree in 2000. He then proceeded to the Nigerian Law School and was called to the Nigerian Bar. He has a master's degree in Maritime and Commercial Law, awarded by Lagos State University in 2004. Mbah holds an MBA from ISCE Business School, University of Navarra, Barcelona, Spain, and postgraduate diploma in Strategy and Innovation at the Said Business School, University of Oxford. He was awarded an honorary doctorate degree in political science by Godfrey Okoye University, Enugu in 2021. After graduation, Mbah participated in the National Youth Service Corps (NYSC) in Ude and Associates law firm in Lagos. As an entrepreneur, he founded the Peter Mbah Investments Limited in 1992, a service provider in the oil and gas sector. He is the founder of Gilpel Industries Limited, an importer of general goods between 1993 to 1997, and also founded the Focus International Schools in Lagos State. Mbah is the sole agent of International Oil Corporation, a USA oil and gas company based in Fresno, California. He is the founder and CEO of Pinnacle Oil and Gas Limited. This establishment completed the development of single point monitoring (SPM), conventional buoy mooring (CBM), and storage facilities in Lekki Free Trade Zone in 2021. Mbah was appointed Chief of Staff in 2003 to the government of Enugu State, and subsequently as Commissioner for Finance and Economic Development by the then Governor of the state, Chimaroke Nnamani. He was a member of the Federal Accounts Allocation Committee, the Enugu State Executive Council, as well as a member of the State Security Council. He also served as chairman of the Federal Accounts Allocation Committee's Subcommittee on Legal Matters, chairman of the Board of Directors for the Enugu State Insurance Company, chairman of the Board of Directors for the Enugu State Finance and Investment Company, chairman of the Enugu State Tenders Board. He is a member of the People's Democratic Party (PDP). On the 25th of May 2022, Peter Mbah emerged as the Enugu State governorship candidate of the People's Democratic Party ahead of Nigeria's 2023 general elections. Mbah is the founder of the Peter Mbah Foundation (PMF), a not-for-profit and non-political organization aimed at improving standards of living in rural communities and human capital development. Ladies and gentlemen, I present to you Barrister Dr. Peter Ndubisi Mbah.
Thank you very much for such a generous introduction. The PDP governorship candidate, the PDP deputy governorship candidate, Barrister Ifeanyi Osai, the PDP party chairman, Honorable Augustine Nnamani, the founder of this summit, TSE Summit, Williams Uche Mbah. Please permit me to stand on the order of protocol that has already been established. Distinguished ladies and gentlemen, Ricardo Horstman and Jose Dominguez, in their work on knowledge, technology, and complexity of economic growth, rightly identified technology as the key driver in the growth of any economy, be it countries, regions, cities, and I dare say businesses. If for that reason alone, I want to commend the efforts of TSE in organizing this summit. A summit that is designed to spark off the technology-led entrepreneurship of our young people. I am always very excited to speak to the youth. My excitement even doubles when the discussion centers on leadership, as it is with us today, where I have been asked to speak to you on the role of leadership in entrepreneurship success. The role of leadership in entrepreneurial success. So we're going to be talking about leadership. And if we're going to talk about leadership, perhaps we should ask, what is leadership? Leadership, in the context we have today, is twofold. I'm going to talk about market leadership, and then talk about maybe what you would call business or organizational leadership. I'm going to start first by talking about market leadership. Now, the reason I want to start with market leadership is because it's a strategic leadership. So I will talk about strategic leadership first. Leadership in the marketplace requires that you attain that through the surest way to attain that is through innovation. And as Sean Peter would argue, innovation is the implementation of practical ideas that results in the creation of goods or services. It may also be just an improvement on the goods you're offering and the services you're providing. So what that means is that innovation allows us to propel our business to take the foremost position. So the question then would be, how do we innovate? Recall that I had spoken about how technology is the key driver in growth. And I dare say it is also relevant in the leadership of marketplace. There are frameworks for innovation. And by the way, recall that we talked about innovation being a practical implementation of ideas. So what that does is you have to distinguish innovation from invention. So of course, when you invent new ideas, but you may not ultimately capture any value from that invention. The difference with innovation is that in innovation, you are able to create value and also capture the value. So having a leadership mindset in a marketplace requires one to innovate. And there are frameworks for innovation. There are indeed several ways that one can innovate, But if your interest is to take a leadership position in the marketplace, then you would be thinking about a radical or disruptive innovation. There are also innovations that could be routine. There are innovations that could be components, just building a new component. But we're going to spend time today talking about radical and disruptive innovation. And I'm going to give you some of the examples of what is radical or disruptive innovation. By the way, it's also important to mention that innovation is not necessarily, in most cases, creating a new item. It may well be, of course, looking at your operating activities, looking at your operating processes, and identifying a compelling business problem or social problem or economic problem that you want to disrupt. You want to, perhaps it could be that you have an operational system that is inefficient and you're already thinking about how you can disrupt such sub-optimization. You can also innovate by disrupting a business model. Just looking at the way things are done in the marketplace, and then you say, look, we can also do things differently. And when we look around us, we would notice that some of these disruptive innovations have taken place in a number of sectors. Let me start with the Uber versus the city taxis. I'm sure most of us here are old enough to know how we moved from point A to point B before now, before the era of Uber. All we did then was, if we wanted to go out, it's either we order for a taxi if we don't own our own car, or if we don't want to drive. Or we could also go out and stay by the street or the roadside to flag down a taxi. Now, it took some people, some young people who also believe that, look, this could be done differently, to create a platform that we can today basically use our smartphones to sit in the comfort of our homes and order for taxis. Now, what these people did was to create a platform. And today, there's no car rental business or city taxis that has a valuation as big as that of Uber. So what did they do? They took what was before now a pipeline business and created a platform. And today, seamlessly, we can pick our smartphone and order for, taxi, or indeed for a car, depending. There are a lot of features that you would also notice from that innovation. You could now be able to have the ability to know what your trip cost would be, the vehicle that is coming to pick you, you're able to track it. This is what we refer to as business model innovation. Basically, looking at the way things were done in a particular space and innovating, building components, building technology to be able to do what? Change the way that service is offered. So we have to understand that taking the leadership position in the marketplace requires being technologically compliant, being driven by what? Technology. And which is why I believe that this summit is apt. We can also give other examples where people have used innovation to change the business landscape of their segment. You also know the case of the Netflix versus Blockbuster. Just not in 2004, we all knew before the advent of Netflix, we had to go to rent movies either in VHS or in CDs. But it also took a business mind who felt that we could also disrupt this industry. Now, the point that I'm making about some of these instances I'm giving is, if you are in a space and all you're thinking about is how do I play a leadership role, and that space is already crowded, it's already established. So what you must be thinking about is, how do I disrupt the services or the goods in the case of a product that is provided in that segment. So if you take the case of Netflix today allows us, from the comfort of our homes, to stream the same movies that we needed to. When Blockbuster was the market leader, they had over 80,000 outlets, brick and mortar outlets. They had, the rent to the number of movies, whether in VHS or in CD, that they had to rent out was humongous. But today, with just the comfort of at the comfort of your home with your smartphone, you're able to order for whatever movie you want to watch. And today, we all know the story of Blockbuster and Netflix. We know that Netflix is today the market leader in the movie space, displacing the then incumbent Blockbuster. The same thing took place in the transportation sector, actually hospitality sector. I'll come to the transportation in a short while, where we have the Airbnb and Marriott. Airbnb today has over 70 million rooms in their disposal, as against Marriott with 1.4 million rooms. Marriott is an incumbent, built bricks and mortars across the world, but with Airbnb, without investing a dime in any brick and mortar, today they are by far the market leader in that hospitality industry. Now, we're still talking about business model innovation. And then you also have the case of Tesla in the automobile industry. The valuation of Tesla today, it's much more than the combined valuation of a Mercedes, a Ford, and a GM put together. Now, the reason again is because Tesla is valued as a technology company rather than an automobile company. So what this should tell you is that the opportunities are in technology, and how you use that technology to either create a product or make an operating environment more efficient, or indeed redefine a business model. But there are also things that you must do. There are frameworks when you're thinking about taking over a market space. You have to be able to ask yourself, at what stage are we in that market? Because there is a life cycle of every market, and indeed also every product. I'm sure we not long ago, we had the fond memory of having admiring so much our VHS or Betamax video recorder. And before, of course, that was, disrupted by the CD. And today, we're not even talking about the CD. So you have to always find out at what stage is a market. You have a life cycle of a market. The best time to innovate in a market space is typically when that market is at the era of ferment, when it's a nascent market, when the market is not yet established, when there hasn't been any dominant technology, and people are struggling, ideas are flowing, people are trying to come up with the best module, to launch. That is really the best time to ideate and innovate. But there are, and usually those flow. I will just talk a bit about the market cycle. So you have the era of ferment, you have the dominant stage, the dominant design stage, you have the incremental stage where there has emerged in the market space a dominant design. And what you then have is people now improving on that dominant design. Then, of course, from the dominant design stage, you have the technological discontinuity stage, where that technology is no longer in use. So you always have to ask yourself, when you are thinking about innovation, at what stage are we in this market or in this product cycle? Are we at that point where consumers are already thinking of a new product? Or are we at the stage where the market is evolving? It's still nascent. And there hasn't been any dominant design. There hasn't been an established or an incumbent. So you need to ask yourself those questions, because frankly, that would determine the sort of strategy you would adopt in innovation. There are also the things you have to bear in mind when you're thinking about innovation, the characteristics, things you must do when you are in an environment and you're thinking about a component. Let's take, for example, a component innovation. There are basic principles that should guide that space. The first one is to make sure that you're in an environment where you have an open communication. You're in an environment where the tolerance for failure, it's very high, okay? So that you are, the best ideas don't just happen sometimes as an event. It also undergoes a lot of iteration. But remember that I said I'm going to talk to you about two types of leadership. And I felt that I should start with the strategic leadership model, which is the market leadership. Now, the second type of leadership I'd like to talk to you today about is the business leadership, which is like the organizational leadership. And this is the leadership that Tony Robbins defines as the ability to influence, inspire. Now, this is something that a discussion I had with the medical and dental students, the Medical Research and Humanitarian Society that I delivered a lecture on Saturday, right? Now, we spent a lot of time trying to talk about this style of leadership, where you have transactional leadership style, you have transformational leadership style, and then you have the transcendental leadership style. And I tried to argue at that lecture that the preferred leadership style, one, must adopt for effective results and to ensure that he gets the buy-in of his followers or the led into a common vision, is the transcendental leadership style. Transcendental leadership style looks beyond itself. It transcends beyond the individual leader. You get your team to buy into a mission. You have defined your vision. You have agreed on what to do to get you there. Now, you cannot get there alone. You need a team to be able to get there. So how do you get those people to buy into that? You need to be able to show that this mission that you are in, it's one that it's not just about you people, but it's one that would serve the benefit of the society. It would create value. We would, of course, capture the value as business people, those who want to create wealth, generate ideas. There is the least thing to worry about when you're working in that framework of mind. It's not wealth, because the wealth will naturally come once you create the idea. But in the transcendent leadership model, you get people to buy into a mission, and then it becomes a mission-driven leadership model where we all believe or serve a mission, and that mission is bigger than all of us. And we have the buy-in of our team, or we have the buy-in of our colleagues, who we all, in your own case, it may be that already from this discussion, you're already thinking about the sector that you want to disrupt with your technology. And you're recognizing that I do not have the comprehensive skill to be able to build the ideas that are running in my head. And it requires you to forge an alliance with your other team members or your other colleagues out there. And that is what Ricardo refers to as the diffusion of collective knowledge. And that's how economies grow. That's how businesses grow. When you have a spread of expertise, when you have spread of ideas, everyone coming with his own pocket of ideas, then you're able to do what? To optimally achieve the desired objective. Transcendental leadership model or leadership style, as I was discussing, it's one that we need to imbibe as young people. It comes with a lot of ethics and a lot of value proposition, because it requires you to have also all those components of emotional intelligence that I had mentioned earlier. And so we're just going to touch a bit on we're going to touch a bit on how we build the leadership in us. And as young people, I'm sure you're going to be interested in understanding how we build the leadership in us. When Williams was speaking earlier on, when he was making those generous remarks, he talked about how we had known for over 18 years and how he would, when he inquired about what it was I was doing, he would be told that I'm somewhere either in the US, in Europe, or in the United Kingdom, studying. That's actually true. He didn't lie about it. And frankly, if you're thinking about leadership, you must imbibe that attitude of continuous and never-ending learning. Continuous and never-ending learning. And frankly, maybe I should just give you a short story of my background, how I have also been able to apply this continuous and never-ending learning, how I've also applied the disruptive innovation in a business model to disrupt the industry where I play. As you already know, I am the CEO of Pinnacle Oil and Gas. So Pinnacle Oil and Gas had a late entrance into the oil and gas industry. By the way, we have three streams in the oil and gas industry. You have the upstream, the midstream, and then of course, the downstream. We play in the downstream. So we were late entrants into the sector. We came into the sector in 2008. At that time, the oil and gas downstream sector is an already established sector with over 100 years. So you have the incumbents, you have the big companies that had already taken over the space. They've taken over the market share. So we came in as late entrants in 2008. But we were clear as to what we wanted to do in the industry. So we defined our vision. Our vision from day one was to play a dominant role in the downstream sector. We wanted to do that through an unbeatable pricing strategy. So we agreed that we're going to come up with a strategy that allows us to have the best price ever and create value for the services we're giving. It was difficult to achieve that because you are already in an industry where you couldn't do so much about the product, because the product you're offering is a commodity. You cannot innovate so much about doing a new product because these products are things you extract from the ground and the specifications are largely standard. We couldn't also do so much on the pricing because as a commodity, everybody is watching the screen. We all know what the market is doing, where the market is driven by commodity trading platforms. So you keep watching those platforms and you decide when it is convenient for the market for you to close or to lock in. And so there wasn't so much to do on the product side, there wasn't so much to do on the pricing side. But we noticed that in the operating process, there was a huge gap. And then when we sat back and observed that, we identified a compelling business need that we needed to solve. What did we do? We were then, of course, importing products, cargoes through large tankers. And the process was, once you have the product, you keep the big tanker in the midstream, where you now go hire a smaller shuttle vessels. You go to the big tanker and lighter the products so that you're able to take them to your terminal, your storage facility. What that meant was we were doing multiple handling, right? Multiple handlings of the process. Firstly, we would pick up the cost on the mother vessel, the big vessel that is in the midstream. And then we would also pick up the cost of the shuttle vessel that we go to lighter the big vessels with. What did we do? We felt that we could disrupt that particular suboptimal way of doing things. So we decided that we're going to innovate, and so we came up with different options. We generated several ideas, evaluated them, and decided on the best option. The best option for us was where we had to now build a mooring facility in the middle of the sea. We had some, using technology again, have some facilities that sit in the middle of the sea where we keep those big tankers. And we had to run subsea pipelines of over 40 kilometers to the terminal. So we now no longer have to do those multiple handlings. We do no longer need to hire shuttle vessels. We also no longer need to have those big vessels incurring demurrage. We now could discharge those big vessels that typically takes the industry 32 days to empty. We can do it now in 48 hours. So what we did wasn't creating new products. We weren't so much particular about the pricing because we couldn't use price to compete. But what we did was became efficient and drive down the operations cost. And today, we're the market leader in the downstream space, okay? That leadership meant that if we were thinking about growing incrementally or marginally, all we could have done, because it's already an industry that is at a dominant stage of design, it already has an incremental growth level. That's where the market was. But what we did was to displace those incumbents by disrupting the sub-optimization in the operations process of things. So what I wanted to emphasize by that story is what you could achieve by continuous and never-ending learning. We also talk about, for those of you aspiring to be leadership or aspiring to the position of leadership, you must seek whatever avenue you can to be responsible, or to provide services. So seek whatever opportunity, whatever avenue. It could be becoming a student union president. It could be becoming a leader in your church association, even in the families, because by the time you're able to influence, inspire, and make others become their best self, you're already what? A leader. Okay? So look for any opportunity to play that leadership role. We've talked about how you have to be able to communicate openly, have to have an open channel of communication. Learn to do what? Learn to listen. Learn to listen, and once you are faced with a number of options, you also have to be decisive. You have to have the courage to make a decision. I hope that this short time I have spent with you, I've been able to Thank you. I hope I've been able to show you that we do have the potentials to be. We have the Mark Zuckerbergs here. We have the Elon Musk here. We have all of you here. There would never have been a better opportunity, or indeed a better place to innovate like we have in this country, where a lot of the things we do, we still do them suboptimally. Your job now is to imbibe the design thinking framework, which is something like, to define a business problem, to look at the compelling business in all sectors. For us, who have indicated our interest to serve our people, moving from the corporate sector now to serve in the public sector. We're also thinking that when eventually we become elected by you and we're in office to serve, that we're going to use our background, we're going to use technology to do what? To develop our economy. So when we launch our manifesto in a few days' time, what you're going to see in that manifesto will speak a lot about technology. Because we believe that the key driver, as Ricardo said in their work, the key driver of any economic growth of any country, region, or businesses is what? Technology. So if you come to our agriculture sector, you notice that we have a technology agriculture system for transformation in Enugu State. That's what we're going to introduce, and it's going to be technologically enabled across all our sectors. So I'm hoping that for you too as young people, you're going to start thinking about how you can disrupt your various environments and your various sector, identifying the compelling business problems that you need to solve, ideating, creating, or generating ideas on how to solve those business problems. And I tell you what, sometimes you can have multiples of them. And sometimes I talked about the diffusion of collective know-how, getting a lot of people, and that's why teamwork is very critical. Bringing in a lot of people, explore, generate ideas, and then do what? Evaluate them. These are basically the framework of design thinking. So I hope that these few minutes that we've spent talking about this leadership has inspired you guys and has charged you. So I wish you guys a fruitful deliberation. Thank you very much. Thank you.
Don't stop clapping. Keep clapping, keep clapping, keep clapping. Come on.